Hi guys, it is still August 12th. This video is about the economy, our fabulous economy that was inspired by a comment that I got a few days ago, and I'm going to read that comment. But I want to start with some good news and say at the outset, outrage, when the voice is really loud, works. You know, it's called significant backlash. Universal Pictures has decided not to release The Hunt. The Hunt. It was supposed to be released on September 27. They're not going to be releasing it. The Hunt. The leftist elite kidnap Trump supporters and I guess release them in a confined area or somewhere, I don't know, to hunt them down and kill them. Movies in America. TV in America. Well, they're always sending a message. And that message from Hollywood gets louder and louder. Violence is okay against people who think differently from you. But the outrage about this movie was quite loud, while Universal Pictures had already paused the marketing campaign for The Hunt. After thoughtful consideration, the studio has decided to cancel our plans to release the film. We stand by our filmmakers and will continue to distribute films in partnership with bold and visionary creators. Well, I'd say this is bold. Well, I suppose you could even say visionary for the psychopaths who want to kill off people who don't have the same opinion as they do. But what happened to real art? What happened to the movies that we used to call films? All right. Universal insiders feel that doing the right thing was more important than releasing the movie because of the current climate. You didn't get that doing the right thing was not making a movie like this? Don't tell me you're doing the right thing. You're doing it because there was a lot of backlash. So, don't claim that you're, standing with the moral position here. You're doing it because there were a lot of people upset about this. Rightly so. Okay, so I want to read this comment. Okay. Starting with, all right, thanks for your videos, Carol. You're one of the few baby boomers that's truly honest about how much our world has changed negatively the past 20 plus years. It helps me out a lot because I'm turning 30 next month and I'm not quite where I want to be career-wise according to society's standards. I'm getting very tired of the baby boomers in my personal life gaslighting me by insisting that the economy and job market isn't so bad and has mostly the same job opportunities and security when they were my age. But I just have to try harder. I can't tell you how many in the younger generations I have heard from who have, and I do believe what they're saying, they've busted ass looking for jobs, they can't find a job, they have to get 3 jobs in order to, just get by. And their parents are telling them nothing is different. You can inadvertently gaslight people by refusing to do research about what truly is going on, refusing to face reality. You can inadvertently gaslight when you don't care about the people that you're talking to. You only care about your own little comfortable world. And if you're listening to garbage that Trump is throwing at you about how great the economy is, oh, interesting. Mainstream media also, they could have really taken that guy down with the truth about the economy, but they didn't. They were kind of on the same side. Isn't that interesting? Okay. If that's all you're going to listen to, you're not going to do any research to find out the truth of what has happened in our country, what continues to happen in our country, economy, then, especially when it comes to parents with their young adult children, you are someone who is also either intentionally or inadvertently abusive. The truth is really important. And when people lie, and when people accept the lie because it's just so much easier, they then attack those and degrade those and laugh at those, roll their eyes at those, judge those who are experiencing reality. Yeah, the economy. Just like it was. How dare you do this? How dare you do this to the younger generation? The opportunities that we had are gone. Are gone. So when I read comments like this, my heart breaks. My heart breaks for who wrote this comment, because they not only feel the pressure of the loss of opportunity, how difficult it is to make it today, but they also have to be dealing with all of, those baby boomers who are telling them that something's wrong with you. Oh, how about that you're just not positive enough. You just don't work hard enough. If you really wanted a good job, well, they're available. Go and get one when they're not available. Our economy is tanking. So for the older generation to refuse to acknowledge that, they then will be causing an awful lot of hurt for those in the younger generation. And it's not fair. It's not fair. So let me just tell you, those baby boomers who do that, there is something wrong with you. You are not only just incredibly selfish and self-centered by refusing to do some work, which, it'll bust your comfortable bubble. But some work, some research, to look into what really is happening with our economy. And baby boomers, we grew up knowing our government lies. We know it. So the acceptance of everything that you hear from your quote-unquote leaders, mainstream media reporters, it really is, well, what do you say to, I don't know even how to address Americans who do that at this point, not with everything that has gotten so obvious. And do me a favor, don't leave comments. Oh, Carol, you're so angry. I'm really upset about how many Americans hurt other Americans because they refuse to face reality. They live their delusion, they're fine, but if anybody else is struggling, well, that's your fault. Refusing to look at all of the external factors. that are causing the struggle. Okay, so let's take a look. Chase Bank forgives all outstanding credit card debt for Canadians? What's going on there? Is this true, my Canadian subscribers? Did Chase say we're forgiving your outstanding credit card debt, but don't tell Americans? Don't let Americans know. Overtax. The middle class is being wiped out. U.S. service sector slips to worst growth in 3 years. And guess what? The jobs that are created are mostly in the service sector. Wow. That means, well, the economy is tanking. Expect big discounts on cars because car dealers can't sell their cars. Why? The economy is doing so beautifully. Americans are back at work. Manufacturing has come back to the United States. But Americans can't buy cars. So car dealers are sitting there full of cars. Lowe's is laying off thousands of workers. I have posted many videos on the economy. So this is the latest corporation laying off thousands of workers that I have posted on. Student debt crushes home buying dreams from millennials. Now delayed 8 years. I hear an awful lot of those who are not millennials, the older generations, baby boomers, and what's that other generation then? I guess in between the millennials and the baby boomers? Gen X? Is that what it is? Interesting that the latest generation is Gen Z. Generation Z, the last letter of the alphabet. Done. I don't know. Maybe. I hear a lot of talk about how lazy millennials are. Some are. But look, I'm sorry. When you look at the millennials that don't have a reference point at all for what we lived, and to grow up in this tech world, to grow up when there was a deliberate engineering of the young, we have to keep everyone common. So everyone is great. You're great. Even if you fail a class. Well, that did enormous damage for an awful lot of millennials. You know, look, the older generation can look to themselves for why the younger generation is the way they are. And, you know, there are a lot in every generation that you can't stereotype about, you know, whatever stereotype you got with the, well, baby boomers. Let's see. Baby boomers. Man, we were fighting and I'm a young baby boomer. So I actually watched the older baby boomers go through quite a materialistic transformation. I grew up young watching my older sisters and brothers in that generation, really concerned about war, Vietnam, concerned about the civil rights movement. And then, well, I guess they got out of college, and suddenly they became yuppies. They became yuppies. And the motto of the baby boomer generation was something like, the one who has the most when they die wins. The most, meaning material toys. Or I think it was, actually, the one who has the most toys when they die wins. Great motto, isn't it? Wow, just filled with character. Yeah, I get a lot of comments from people who talk about the millennial class or generation, and look at your own generation. You know, I had to walk away from all of my friends who were older than I because they could care less about anything but their own self. So whatever people are talking about with the millennials, and we focus really on their work habits and money, because money is everything. All right, the baby boomers had terrific opportunity. Millennials don't. And in terms of moral character, sorry, you can't say that the baby boomers have moral character and the millennials don't. The millennials are just crazy. Baby boomers are completely sane. As far as I'm concerned, baby boomers, the most materialistic, self-centered generation we probably ever had. Now, I haven't studied the younger generations, but, well, the baby boomers actually gave birth to the younger generations. How was that parenting? Not so good, huh? There are a lot of parents, unfortunately, you know, they're in the minority, that did a really good job parenting because it's so important, and they knew the importance. So they parented in a way that set their children on a trajectory to become healthy adults. And they don't look at their children, you know, with the same kind of judgment that an awful lot of parents do. They're lazy. They just don't want to work. You know what? The buck stops with the parent. That's it. And if we could all get honest, well, that would help an awful lot. With our social relationships, we would be able to relate a lot better if people just got honest. All right, so what else do we have? We've got, trucking. Autonomous truck delivery. So truckers, more and more, will be out of work. Amazon delivery robots are officially on the streets of California. More people delivering things, Amazon things, will be out of work. Despite plunging rates, existing home sales slow for the 16th straight month. Hey, middle class, the housing crisis is coming for you next. Now, we've known that the middle class is dying out. Do you think that suddenly stopped and there was a middle class resurgence because Trump came into office? If you do, then you like your delusion. It's not happening. Many in the middle class really are struggling to just hold on to the middle class. The housing prices keep rising. It's not just buying a house, it's renting. And the middle class are really having a very difficult time. This is actually a good article, and I will link below to everything. So, inflation at Walmart. I've experienced it. Cat food has gone up. Worst place possible for consumers? Well, you go to Walmart. You're forced to go to Walmart when you have very little money to work with. But a whole lot of people go to Walmart just to buy the cheaper foods. But the prices are going up, even at Walmart. How is that possible? The economy is doing so beautifully. The American public is over-leveraged. Bankruptcies continue to rise. Oh, this is actually an interesting piece. So, many Americans still face financial instability despite economic growth. How is that possible? With the economy doing beautifully. And Trump, wow. I created an economy the likes of which this country has never seen. I did it. I'm great. Everybody's back at work. Yay! 40% of Americans say they are running into debt or barely making ends meet. A whole lot of Americans use credit cards because they don't have the cash to pay their bills. A third of the respondents in this survey, and look, surveys, polls, all this, I don't discount or dismiss them in the entirety. You know, I wonder about the percentages and all of that kind of stuff. But based on what I know about our fabulous economy, I would say that these numbers, if not accurate, correct, then they're off by just a few percentage points. A third of respondents reported having no savings, and more recent polling shows that many people do not have sufficient resources on hand to deal with an emergency. Continued economic pressure, or pressures, many people feel despite the nation's low unemployment rate and record high stock market. Pew, get on board with the truth, okay? Well, I'll get into that in a moment, but these numbers that we get every month, when every administration sends out its, mouthpiece, and what do we hear? How fabulous the president and his administration has done. 250,000 Americans, more jobs. And how have we not known that they lie? Trump lies, Obama lies, Bush lies, they all lie about those numbers. Stagnating wages still. Wow. Decades of stagnating wages with expenses rising, killing off an awful lot of Americans. Income volatility. Well, those are some of the factors that can obscure analyses of the macroeconomic data, but not a lot of people do take a look at the micro. Well, as the baby boomers get older, their children are facing the care for them. There's an awful lot of elderly that don't have any financial security. The elderly returning to work because, the economy is doing so beautifully. And the cost of these assisted care centers, well, much of the care for the elderly parents are falling on children, and that is yet another financial pressure. The instability, financial instability, primary jobs do not cover the cost of living anymore. Baby boomers, you only had to have one job. You only had to have one. And you had a whole lot of opportunity in getting good paying jobs, really good paying jobs. So how is it that any baby boomer who has some kind of, I don't know, intelligence or awareness about what is taking place could possibly say that the younger generations have the same kind of opportunities as we did? I look to the person who commented, I don't want to be saying anything bad about your parents, but there's something wrong with their thinking. So there are an awful lot of Americans now who have to get 2 or 3 jobs just to pay their bills. And they still feel quite vulnerable. Workers cited difficulties in landing a job or moving from one job to another, saying that it was hard to find a job and that they often felt confined to low-paying or less competitive positions. They cited various barriers, such as difficulties transferring the skills over time to currently available jobs. Yeah, that's another factor. We're going automated. We're now living in a transformed economy from this industrial to tech. A whole lot of people who are older do not have those skills. And that's where the money is, in big tech. Difficulties transferring the skills, frustration with automated search engine filters that remove some qualified applicants, difficult to meet education requirements. Employers, on the other hand, cite difficulties in finding workers that closely fit their job criteria, multiple jobs, the need to work an additional job, supplementing a primary position that provides critical benefits to make ends meet, part-time seasonal consulting work, help them cope with financial instability. There's an awful lot of jobs that are part-time. Employers don't want to pay any benefits. So people are forced to get 2, 3, 4 jobs because they're all part-time. And wow, for all of those jobs, they have no benefits. That's what's happening to Americans. The farmers, that's a video in and of itself. Our farmers are dying. Some are killing themselves, committing suicide. But what the trade war has done, the weather has done, you can pretty much kiss goodbye to farming. The farmers that were independent, not corporate, agriculture farming. That's one of the reasons why they hit them so hard with all of this flooding. They want to get rid of the farming families, and everything will go corporate. Fed remains a target as economy falls short of Trump's ambitious goals. Now, I read, but it wasn't a tweet of Trump's. It was a paraphrase of what Trump had said, that the economy was reasonably good. What? How? It's reasonably good? If this is true, that Trump actually said that, are you not getting, Trump supporters, how much this guy lies? Oh, we're victorious over ISIS. We're pulling ourselves out of Syria. Next week, well, sending more troops over to Syria to fight ISIS. What? This guy has been boasting about his own performance and, wow, creating an economy that's been like no other forever. Now he's coming out and saying reasonably good? Well, we know that Trump is a liar, and we know that Americans can listen to, the exact opposite, from one day to the next, and it won't even faze them. The economy is really bad. Trump needs a scapegoat. So he's going to be targeting the Fed. The Fed will target someone else. But this economy has grown so fragile that I'm telling you, every day I wake up and I go and I look and, oh, okay, so it's still artificially propped up. One more day. But we're going down. Bottom line, we are going down. All right, so more fake happy news about jobs. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that the U.S. economy created 148,000 new private sector jobs during July. The job numbers does not translate into employed people, as increasingly Americans hold 2 or more jobs. What we are seeing is not more people employed, but more multiple job holders. Since May, the number of multiple job holders has increased 534, 500,000. It's increased 500,000. Okay, do I have to point out this is Paul Craig Roberts, who worked, he was the Assistant Treasury Secretary under Ronald Reagan, also the editor of the Wall Street Journal, as mainstream as you can get, but a truthful guy. And so he knows the economy, okay? What we are seeing is not more people employed, but more going to part-time jobs. The claim of a falling rate of unemployment over the past decade is inconsistent with the falling labor force participation rate. Normally, when employment prospects are good, the labor force participation rate increases. To explain away the inconsistency, economists claim that the decline in the labor force participation rate reflects the increased retirements of the baby boomer generation. However, the BLS reported, Bureau of Labor Statistics, reported that the labor force participation rate for older workers of retirement age surged, the highest level in 7 years. The economy is doing beautifully. Older workers are forced. Don't think, you guys in the younger generations, if you're not on a universal basic income, don't think you're going to ever retire. And the pensions, oh boy. Well, that's a whole nother video. The pension crisis. Retired people, thanks to the Federal Reserve's low to zero interest rate over the last decade, cannot live on their pensions and their savings. They have to take part-time jobs to make ends meet. Younger people, however, cannot form independent households on the basis of part-time jobs, and as they have no pension income to supplement the meager pay of a part-time job, have dropped out of the workforce. They're just not counted. The reason the reported unemployment rate is low is that millions who have dropped out of the labor force because they cannot find life-sustainable employment are not counted as unemployed. What do these people do? They live with parents or grandparents, and they work cash jobs, house sitting, walking dogs, cutting grass, handyman jobs, with their parents judging them, thinking that there's something wrong, with my child, that they have to live with me because there's so many opportunities out there. Oh boy. The July report finds 16,000 new manufacturing jobs, but the manufacturing index weakened for the 4th consecutive month. How do manufacturing jobs rise when manufacturing activity declines? Trump came out and said, just recently, manufacturing is alive again. I'm paraphrasing. It's alive again. He was standing in front of factory workers, who, of course, they get to go, yay! It hasn't. It's tanking. When the lies are so obvious, it just becomes so crazy-making. You know, we've got crazy-making people who lie and accept lies, but then we have all of the people who are judged and hurt and shamed by them. That's what makes me angry. The collapse of 7 trucking companies this year. If the economy is so good, why is that happening? The facts are whatever serves the interest of the ruling elites. That's it. So, the lying serves the ruling elites. They just keep lying. And Americans, the majority, keep lapping the lies up. So, we have a sick, this dynamic of the ruling elite and the majority of Americans. It's like a toxic relationship of liars and those who accept the lies. Who's worse? Those who accept the lies. Why? Because if they didn't accept the lies, the liars would go away. But so few hold accountable liars. Well, those who accept the lies, water. They give water to the lies that the liars speak. And the lies just continue to grow and grow and grow. More fake news about jobs, part 2. Jobs have been trending toward part-time as this allows employers to avoid benefit costs. In order to make ends meet, many Americans work 2 or more part-time jobs. Therefore, the announcement on Friday of that 148,000 in July does not mean 148,000 more employed Americans. I am continuing this because for all of you who are who are younger, who are not baby boomers, but younger, I want you to hear this. And you can send this video out to your parents, to those who are in the baby boomer generation who are judging you, thinking you guys have the same opportunities. You don't. Plus the fact, the immigrants, Trump increased the H-1B and L-1 visas. So an awful lot of immigrants are getting those visas. Americans can't get those jobs. Job gains in information technology and software engineering. Americans, go away. You can take your 3-4 part-time jobs. So yeah, it's going to immigrants. House of Representatives has passed a bill to allow unlimited numbers of people from India and China to be granted work visas for U.S. programming jobs. The reader concludes that his job will soon be history and he will disappear into the ranks of the uncounted American unemployed. Yes, a whole lot of Americans have gone off the cliff financially, marginalized. You don't hear from them. And Americans don't want to hear from them. The comfortable just want to remain comfortable. And they love to live in their delusional bubble, thinking this country is still pretty much the same, when nothing could be further from the truth. And if you want to hear about where we're going, this was from the Congressional Budget Office. Their most recent long-term budget outlook doesn't look good. A lot more immigrants will be taking jobs from Americans. They're expecting a net 22.5 million more immigrants to come to the U.S. over the next 20 years. A lot more illegal immigrants. They're expecting 2.4 million over the next 20 years. We're going to be up to our eyeballs in debt because, well, those, campaigning for the presidency always talk about, and I'm going to lower the deficit and the debt and yada, yada, yada. And they come up and they just keep increasing it. Spending, spending, spending. Who suffers the consequences of that? The ordinary. The ordinary citizens, not the ruling elite. You can read more on that. The link is below, but you might want to check out the daily job cuts. Every day they post articles, local articles, in local mainstream media and national. Western Union's going to be laying off. A lot of colleges you see laying off. Entertainment Partners, 82 layoffs. Tyson Fresh Meats, layoffs due to fire. In Kansas. Honeywell, layoffs. Wells Fargo to shrink customer service. 400. More layoffs. More and more layoffs. Whole lot of layoffs. I'm sorry. I get the connection between the older generation and what the younger generation has to live. I get it. I wish I wasn't so slow in my waking up process. But what is going on? There was not one friend of mine, baby boomers, that gave a shit about anything. Oh, they thought they cared so much and were compassionate, and I'm sure they still do. They didn't give a shit about anything but their own little life. If we don't do the work individually to change ourselves, to raise ourselves from that, living on the low road, this will only continue. But the lying, that is really like, okay, we just continue to mouth these lies that we hear. And could it be possible that the older generation doesn't realize what they're doing to the younger generation? Even making it harder for them with their judgment? All links are below.